I hope that you will be enjoying this session. My name is Malik Al-Rawashdi. I'm the Assistant Secretary General for Water, Wastewater in Jordan and the Director of DC Project, DC Water Project. I'm going to chair this session. I'm glad actually to have my colleagues here on the stage with me. We might a little bit changing actually the presenters starting. Yes. So we might start with the waste cost recovery and water demand management measures in Lebanon. Mr. Michele Pierpaoli, yeah? GVC Ngo from Lebanon, yeah. So, briefly about Mr. Michele, actually he's a water and sanitation management expert specialized in projects for developing countries studies, engineering degree, and he specialized in management at the University of Bologna, Italy in 2002. He got an MSc in International Development and Cooperation at the University of La Spinoza from Rome, Italy in 2005. He got done some research topics, water and sanitation project in Senegal, and an example of participatory approach, the MSc in water and wastewater engineering at the Study Center WEDC, Loughborough, United Kingdom. Research topic, survey for the introduction of water demand management measures in rural areas of Lebanon. Professional career after a few years as a production manager in the industrial sector. From 2005, starts to work in the international cooperation sector implementation, water project with different international organizations. Actually, he got a very rich, CV here, so it's long, so I cannot, I don't want him to be, so famous today for you. I'll be squeezing of his CV, so please, Mr. Michele.
Good morning, everyone. Sabah khair. I'm going to present research that has been conducted within a EU-funded project in Lebanon, and I personally was the responsible for this research that has been also part for a master's degree in UK. The structure of the presentation will be in two parts. First, the findings, the points related to the research in itself, and at the end, the findings and the practical recommendation and how we try to put them in practice within a project, always financed by you. The research is composed by three parts: a literature review on whatever has been published after the publication of the Law 221 in Lebanon, that was in 2000, related to the creation of the water establishment for management of water sector. A survey with 36 main actors, so main stakeholders in the water sector, from ministry, establishment, expert, academic, donors, to have their opinion about cost recovery problem in Lebanon. And then also a survey conducted in 5 municipalities in North Bekaa, that was the project area, with a sample of more than 1,000 people to assess their actual coping strategy and expenses, their expectation as a citizen in terms of public service, and their knowledge about water sector management. So the first part about the literature review will give you what has been found about the Lebanon water sector. So the public service is considered generally insufficient and of poor quality around the country. There is a lack of trust between final user and water authorities. Staff capacity of the establishment is about 30% of what should be from different assessment. The role of the municipality has been completely cancelled by the Law 221 in 2000, in favor to a more centralized management through the regional establishment. Many citizens still consider responsible for provision of the service the municipalities. They are not really aware about the changes in the sector. There is a general lack of data in whatever sector, from production, distribution, water resources, that is in different sectors in Lebanon. But we already know, even with this lack of data, that the natural water resources are already overexploited. It is estimated that every year, more or less 700 million of cubic meters are used against the 500 that are those considered as renewable. The water tariff are considered by many authors as insufficient to cover even operation and maintenance costs. There is an incongruency between tariff and design, because the water tariff sell 1 cubic meter per day for a household, corresponding to approximately 220 liters per capita per day, while the design criteria fixed by the National Water Strategy are mentioning 165, 180 liters per capita per day. The estimated unaccounted for water is around 48% by the Ministry of Energy and Water. Different opinions say that is not really known, is probably much higher. Subscription rates are very low, mainly in the different establishments, Bekaa South and North, and they could range between 35% in Bekaa to 58% in the North. Collection rates are also estimated very low, and from a report of World Bank, are around 18-33% as an average. Estimated household expenditure per water is between 40 and 70 US dollars. This is from World Bank data and other reports. And we will see also from our household survey, we achieve similar information. This is corresponding actually to 3 times what should be the tariff from public service. These are what the cities are spending with a mix of public and private suppliers. Water meters and volumetric tariff have not been properly installed and applied in Lebanon for many different political reasons, but is stated in different places that they are feared by final users, so politicians do not enforce the application of water meters. From literature review also, we can see that in Middle East especially, the water meters and volumetric tariff become an effective tool for reducing water consumption for household consumption above 100 liters per capita per day. And we will see that the consumption in Lebanon is quite higher than that. Participative process for implementing policy and projects not being applied at all in Lebanon, and there are very few capitalized experience about cost recovery in water sector in Lebanon. Then we proceed with the second part of the research, that are the interview with the main actors in the sector. You will see CDR is a governmental body that is managing big projects financed by donor, establishment, expert, Ministry of Energy and Water, academic. These people, they have a specific color. I don't care that you remind it, but just to show you in the graphs later that how these colors are distributed. This is just an idea of the questionnaire. There are questions about cost recovery, customer service, calculation of the tariff, participation of citizens, and wastewater. There were all of them open questions that were then being analyzed and classified. We will go very quickly with very easy questions to give an idea. When we request if there is a real cost recovery strategy in the whole sector, you can see that half of the respondents say no, yes, there is a strategy. The other half says no, there is not a real strategy. And you can see from the color, people from the same classes, establishment, ministry, expert, they have completely different opinion. If we are talking about measuring the production level, it is estimated, almost everyone agreed that no water meters of production are installed everywhere. It is roughly estimated that just half of the production is measured, and the production costs are mainly estimated on basis of electrical bills. This approximation on the production and on the real cost make that the cost of the cubic meter is largely approximated in almost all the establishment. When we request if the actual tariff could be sufficient to cover OPEX costs, operation and maintenance, as you can see, the same. Half of them say yes, more or less. Others, they say could be sufficient. Others that is not sufficient. Those that are saying it is sufficient, it's depending on the collection rate they're stressing. When we request how long it will take for the establishment to be able to cover their operation and maintenance, the majority, you don't have the graph, say never or just very long time, they will be able. Some others, in 5 years, they could be able, others do not know. The majority think, in any case, that the customer would be ready to pay more for a better reliable service. When we request then about the CapEx cost, the capital costs are completely depending on foreign donation and loans. In Lebanon, for the 3 establishments, South, Bekaa, and North, while Beirut, Mount Lebanon has a slightly different situation. They are able to make some capital investment. When we request when the CapEx cost will start to be considered as in the tariff as a strategy, as you can see, the majority say never in a very long time, but the other half say the actual tariff could be sufficient to cover the capital cost even. So there are completely different opinions about what the tariff could cover, what is the cost of the cubic meter, real cost of cubic meter, that makes, for sure, financial planning very difficult. When we talk about installation of the domestic water meters, the majority is in favor for installing water meters. That could be important for improving water management, water conservation, equity of the service. But the majority, half of it here also is the same schizophrenic situation. Half of them say that there is a strategy for installing water meter, while more or less another half say no, there is not a real strategy, or what has been done up to now was just a bad experience. As a recommendation for future strategy, they recommend to create awareness before, apply the volumetric tariff together with the installation of water meters, because what happened in many cases that water meters have been installed but no volumetric tariff came with, and to apply it in target areas considered to be most receptive. When we talk about awareness campaign, about water conservation, the majority agree that something has been done, but the real impact has never been estimated or properly estimated, but in any case it's considered quite limited. The majority recommends in any case to run the campaign not at local level, but more on a national level and with more continuity. When we talk about awareness about cost recovery, very little has been done and with an impact limited. The recommendation provided that the main actors are to let the citizen visualize the possible advantages, using public service in relation to what they actually spend, design campaigns after listening to the citizen, communicate both the achievement of the establishment, but also the problem that they're really facing in a complicated scenario as in Lebanon water sector, and use specialized staff for communication. When we talk about customer service in water sector, almost everyone agreed that the customer service are very bad or practically not existent. There is a complete lack of culture of customer service in the whole Lebanese public sector. When we talk about the relation between establishment and municipality, citizens, the majority mention lack of trust, as we saw also in the literature review. Sometimes relation can be good, it's depending mainly on singular specific situation that are the service provided in certain area, religious or political affiliation, personal connection, or if in that municipality there are good cost recovery. Municipalities are considered still by the majority of the actors are still playing a role. We know that in a lot of cases, municipalities intervene in supporting the management of the establishment, even if by the law, the role of the municipality has been completely cancelled. And most of the interviewers, this is very important, are in favor to give a role to the municipality as an intermediator between this relation between citizen and establishment. In a country where enforcement of the law is very difficult, central institutions have much more difficulties to reach the citizen. But also the role of municipalities could be to create awareness and to represent the citizens in front of the establishment. When we talk about participation in general, the major trends in the sector, we always talk about participation. The majority is in favor of involvement of citizens in very generic terms, but when we request more specifically about the Lebanese situation, the number of them decrease because they say it's too complicated to let the citizen participate in Lebanon. At the end of these 23 questions, we have a 24th talking about wastewater tariff, in general about wastewater sector. And the wastewater sector, the comments are that it's lacking a clear strategy. The recommendation about how to promote a cost recovery approach there is to don't push for environmental factors. They are not so receptive, the citizen, about that. And everyone is agreeing that the future wastewater tariff should be proportional to the consumption of water. But here the big point that until you don't install domestic water meters and you measure what is the consumption of water, you cannot probably define a proper wastewater tariff, as everyone is saying. So the lot of interviewers have been defining the situation in Lebanon as sort of a vicious circle that needs major changes in the approach. And I think this slide is quite representative. We got all the recording of the interviews and we did a frequency analysis of the words. And you can see that change is the most important word, and municipalities and establishment also follows. The third part of the research is we went to interview the citizens. These, as you can see, in the northeast part of Lebanon, in North Bekaa, in 5 municipalities, a survey conducted with 1,000 households with a particular process of, was a long interview for each household, almost 1 hour, to let them go through with open question through all the different aspects of their household management and to know what are their expectations and their willingness to pay. This, just quickly, this survey has been conducted in 5 municipalities. What I want to show that in some of them, there were recent work of reparation, rehabilitation, or intervention for completely changing the scheme in recent years. This is the structure, so actual coping strategy, other public services related to environment, but a relation with public water management, with the 2 important parts that are the table for consumption and cost. For we've been able to estimate their with their monthly cost at their daily consumption, and at the end, their willingness to pay. I go very quickly. So the service is received on average where people are connected to the scheme every 2 or 3 days for less than 2 hours. Less than 10% of people take water every day. The satisfaction, 75% of the people declare to be not satisfied, and only 30% declares that the pressure is enough to fill domestic roof storage tank. I want to make a precision that these are just opinions of the citizen. We don't want to say that this is the picture or reality. We know that people sometimes complain even too much, but in any case, on statistical terms, it's quite important. The alternative they're using are private wells that are quite important cost per month of $36 for those that are using, water tracking with an average cost of $4 per cubic meter, and bottled water that has been estimated that with an average cost for the 25% of people that are using it, around $40 per month. The total consumption with such an high expensive mix of water provision is around 145 liters per capita per day. This data is also in line with other surveys done by other in the past. So already with such an expensive cost for the water, people are already consuming a very high quantity of water. And we saw before that the application of water meter could be effective when the consumption is above 100 liters per capita per day. The total cost, comments about the total cost of the service is that where public service is present, people are spending much less. The private wells are not a real competitor of the public service because the monthly cost